Channel 3 is your Back to School Authority, and tonight the I-Team is taking a closer look at special education funding and why some experts say the system is broken. Here is Chief Investigative Reporter Sam Smink.
In this past legislative session, special education funding was a big talker. Ultimately, the state came up with some solutions, but many tell us there are still millions of dollars on the line. Finn Daly is unstoppable, taking on the world one day at a time.
He loves to play basketball. He's very social. He loves to be with his friends. He loves going to school every day.
Just when it comes to school, sometimes the 12-year-old who has Down syndrome and autism needs a little help.
It's hard for him to focus, and he learns differently, and he also doesn't understand danger like a typical 12-year-old would. So he has a paraprofessional who is with him all day. He receives occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy.
Finn receives all his services through the West Hartford School District within the district. Some students in Connecticut have extraordinary needs that districts can't provide themselves, resulting in those students being sent out of district to specialized programs instead.
These could be high-level needs of mental health. They could be physical, that require special equipment, that might require nursing services.
Kate Diaz, president of the state's largest teacher union, explains the district that student lives in is still responsible for paying for those services. That money is referred to as excess costs. Now, the state has an excess cost grant program that reimburses school districts for these costs. But we're told it's not as simple as it sounds.
When we look at the local municipalities, they're not even eligible for excess costs until it's like 4 times the average student.
It's actually 4.5 times the average student. What does that mean? Say, for example, a school district spends an average of $20,000 per student. It wouldn't be able to start collecting reimbursement until it's spent at least $90,000 on that student receiving excess cost services. And because special education costs are rising, but the state grant program has been short funded over the years, districts don't typically receive full reimbursement. Depending on several factors, reimbursements can range from 55 to 80%.
The debate that we're kind of engaged with is what are the boundaries around those excess costs and who should assume them?
The I-Team found districts submitted $300 million in excess cost expenses for the 24-25 school year, but the state only reimbursed $221 million, leaving $79 million for schools to come up with.
We have a legal obligation to provide education for every single eligible child in the state of Connecticut. It's kind of like any other significant cost situation, right? We've got to figure it out.
Patrick Gibson with the School and State Finance Project, a small nonpartisan nonprofit studying Connecticut public education, says the special education funding system in the state is broken.
Every year, districts are facing those increased excess costs, and they're not getting additional money to cover them.
Currently, Connecticut is one of only 2 states that provide state funding for special education services through an excess cost grant program, where districts spend the money and then apply for reimbursement.
The state has what we call a funding formula, which is the state runs some math equations to determine what each district needs to provide the educational supports for their students, and how much should the state pay for it? And that's based upon the ability from a local town to contribute property tax dollars. In that formula, when Connecticut is calculating what are the kids in this district need, we look at low-income students and we look at multilingual learners, those students who are learning English, but we don't look at special education students.
Gibson says special education should be included in the formula so funding can be given up front.
If the state would include special education students in its funding formula, it would better equip our school districts to better provide those supports.
Back in West Hartford, Finn's mom, Brooke, hopes the people making these funding decisions think about Finn when they do.
Yes, Finn has special needs, but he's also just like your children, and he deserves to get the services that he needs to be an independent and successful student.
The state has designated an additional $30 million each for 2026 and 2027 for a new special education expansion grant that districts can use to expand their on-site services. At the same time, lawmakers will examine how much out-of-district programs charge for services and see whether setting provider rates like Massachusetts does can work for Connecticut. To find out the special education expenditures in your city or town, head to WFSB.com. Your chief investigative reporter, Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.